I'm ready when you are. Hey, YouTube. There it is. That's what I was waiting for. Oh, hold on, YouTube. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of We Are Not So Different. I appreciate y'all spending your morning with me. So go ahead, get yourselves ready. Look at me. Forgive me, y'all. Set, squared away, and ready to just dive into this conversation. So this morning's guest, we have life coach and a relationship expert, Miss Sherica Matthews.
Hello, good morning.
And we had her on once before, but I feel like some of the stuff that we got into, listen, we're going to need multiple episodes to properly wade through. So this is part 2, and I'm really excited to have you back. I'm really excited to have the conversation about what we're talking about today because I feel like it's so integral to us as human beings.
Yes, absolutely.
So usually, as you guys know, I start with the same 2 questions, but she already did that before. So if you want to figure it out, go back to my April 15th episode and find Miss Sherica, and then you can listen to her answers for the 2 questions that I ask every single guest that I have. But we're going to jump right into the thick of it. So that way we have more time to devote to some of the stuff we talk about today. So, I know last time we spent a lot of time talking about your role as a life coach, but you're a relationship expert.
Yeah.
Listen, humans are relational people.
Yes,
so
yes.
It surprises me the lack of time that we devote to paying attention to the fact that relationships and the multiple things, it's so intricately like
it's a basic human need.
Yes.
It really is. And when you talk to any psychologist or sociologist, they're going to tell you that relationships is a part of our survival. Because when you look back, when humans were first created, right? You had to be a part of a community. You had to be a part of a tribe, which means you had to have relationships in order to survive. Because if you were kicked out of the tribe, guess what? That was like a death sentence.
Oh, Lord.
Yes. Exactly. And so that part of our human psyche has been passed down through generations through our DNA. And when we don't take the time to nurture that, we are denying a part of who we really are.
Wow.
And that's why it's so important.
That reminds me of, I know this is such a weird, but that's where it went. And y'all travel down my weirdness with me. So I don't know if y'all remember that movie Judge Dredd, the original one with Sylvester Stallone. And like one of the sentences is they have to walk off into the wretched earth alone.
Yeah.
And that's what made me, that's the first thing that pops in my mind when you're like, when you are like excommunicated from the tribe, it's like a death sentence.
Right. Because in a tribe, in a community, everybody had a role and a function. There were the hunters, there were the gatherers, there were the nurturers, there were different people who did different things based on your talents and your gifts.
Yeah.
And they all came together to help each other survive and to thrive. So when you are excommunicated from a family or excommunicated from a tribe, then now you got to fend for yourself. You may have just been a gatherer once before, but now you got to be a warrior. You got to be a hunter. You got to be everything.
Wow.
And 9 times out of 10 back then, you could not survive on your own. You needed people. And the beautiful part about it is that this is kind of how God is, right? God is 3 persons.
Yes.
And they're all in relation with each other.
Yes. Come on, take us to church, Miss Matthews. I'm ready.
But think about it, that's the whole meaning behind it's not good for man to be alone. God is not alone. Why should you?
Listen. Did you catch that? Put it on rewind. Go back. He's not alone.
Right.
He did it with 3 of them. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. He's not alone. Why should you?
Exactly.
Oh, goodness.
And that's why the narrative, I don't need a man or I don't need a woman, it's a very dangerous narrative because you were not created for that. And we want to redefine the word need. Because need means I am dependent on you. right? But relationships, healthy relationships, is about interdependency. Going back to the example of the tribe where everyone had a different role, I wasn't dependent on you and you weren't dependent on me, but we were interdependent on each other. It was an exchange of resource, an exchange of love, an exchange of energy, and it created balance. When you're dependent on someone like a baby to a mother, there's an imbalance.
That's different. Yeah, totally.
That's a dependent relationship. But as whole, healed, and functional adults, we are searching for interdependent relationships so that we can survive and thrive.
I'm taking notes. I hope y'all, I should have warned y'all. I used to tell y'all, get comfortable on the couch, get your favorite drink. What I should have said was get your notebook and your pen and get ready to take notes on these nuggets of wisdom that Miss Matthews is dropping this morning. I got my pen and paper. I hope y'all read these.
It's funny. I talk to a friend of mine quite often, and she's like, hold on. Let me go get my pen and paper.
Listen. I will in a heartbeat, wherever I am. And I know it's odd sometimes, so I'm in therapy right now.
Mm-hmm. That is
judge your mama.
Everybody needs to have a therapist. I don't care what nobody says. Even if you think that you're healed, have a therapist anyway.
For real.
Keep one on call.
So sometimes, she's gotten used to me because while she's talking, I'm just typing away, and she'll be like, she'll pause, and I'm like, "Don't worry, I'm writing down what you're saying." And even sometimes when I'm having a conversation, just like one-on-one, sometimes I feel like I need a pad and paper.
Right.
Like I don't have to rely on this thing in my mind to remember everything. I don't know, just feel like I can retain it more.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I hope y'all got your pen and paper this morning. So we're going to start off. Last time I did it backwards. You gave your credentials at the end. No, I want you to give your credentials up front and center so these people know that.
Yeah.
What you working
so
with.
You got to slide it across the table. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yes. She is certified, bona fide, whatever other fide. Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. So if you're not familiar with who I am, my name is Sherica Matthews, and I am a certified life coach and relationship expert. I got my certification through the ICF. And so I've been I've had these certifications for about 5 years now, but my background is actually in electrical engineering. I went to school, undergrad and graduate school for 4 degrees in electrical engineering. So I work as an electrical engineer and as a project manager, but I've taken those skills and those experiences as a type A personality, as someone who's a go-getter and very logical. I've taken those skills that I've used and I apply them to my life, and I apply them to my relationships, and I apply them to how I coach and how I teach. And I've been doing this now for a little over 5 years. And I really enjoy, this is what I consider my life purpose. And when it comes to purpose, we often think there is only one life purpose. And what I've come to realize throughout my journey as an adult, I've learned that my purpose has always been to help people. But how I help people has changed as I've grown and as I've matured. So I decided to become an electrical engineer, or an engineer in general, because the definition I was told in high school was that an engineer improves the quality of life of people in the world. That was the definition I was told. I was like, okay, I like that. Yes. Let me go down that path.
Okay.
Yeah. And then after that, I started tutoring because I knew that I had a knack for math and a knack for science. I really loved working with young people. So I started tutoring. I had a tutoring business. And then after that, it transitioned into coaching and teaching women.
Wow.
So although my general life purpose has been the same throughout my adult life, how I execute that has grown and developed and changed over time.
As you have grown
as I have developed. Exactly.
It is multifaceted. It's just not not a one-trick pony.
Exactly.
So for all the people who are wondering about Miss Sherica's qualifications, there you have it.
Thank you.
Qualified. All right. So last time you were here, you had like an aha moment.
Yes.
Like right on camera. I was like, yes, come through. So are you okay? Are you at liberty? Are you comfortable with sharing a little bit more? Okay, about what that aha moment was.
The aha moment, and I honestly don't remember exactly what we were talking about at that time, but the aha moment that dropped into my spirit was that I am who I am because of the relationship I have with my parents. And that relationship is something that I've always wanted to be more.
Okay.
And the relationship is what it is so that I can be who I am.
Let me just say that again.
That relationship is what it is so that I can be who I am. You know, my family and my parents I would consider we don't have a traditional mother-daughter relationship or father-daughter relationship. And it has been a struggle for me at times, and it's been painful for me at times. And I have learned to love them for who they are and where they are, and accept them for who they are and where they are. And I realize in that moment, as I am continuing to grow and to mature, that I don't have to change that relationship. I am grateful for that relationship because it has taught me how to be resilient. It has taught me how to be more independent. It has taught me how to think. And it has taught me how to relate to people in a way that I can still protect my heart and protect my spirit, but still serve them from a place of love. And that was an aha moment for me, because at the time, this past, I would say 9 months, it has been, my relationship with them has been another pain point, has been a stretch and a challenge because of things that's happening in their relationship that is affecting how I feel about our relationship. And so I have, how do I want to say this? I have learned to see them with a new lens of compassion.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that new lens is helping me see other things and other people and other situations in my life with more compassion. I don't always have to agree. I don't always have to understand. But in this season of where I am right now, I am learning to see things with more compassion, to speak with more compassion, and to lead with more compassion. So yeah, that was that
aha moment.
Yeah, I was like, oh. And in that moment also, because when last time I was on here, I did not introduce myself as a relationship expert. And that was because for the past couple of years, I disqualified myself.
Yourself.
I disqualified myself. And what happened, the aha moment too, was that God was reminding me, you are qualified. I disqualified myself because I'm not married. I disqualified myself because I had been through a divorce and I had a broken engagement. So who am I to help other people with their relationships? But relationships is more than just getting married.
Yes, it is.
Relationships, like we said earlier, is the crux, is the thread, is the foundation of who we are as human beings. And if we don't learn how to navigate and nurture and grow all of our relationships, including relationships with ourselves, relationships with God, and relationships with other people, if we don't learn all of that, no matter how many goals we set and no matter how successful we are at our jobs, will we really have a successful, fulfilling, and satisfying life if we don't learn how to navigate these relationships? And that is what dropped into my spirit, because that day and for the weeks after that, God really redirected my teaching and my coaching and how I show up to focus more on relationships like I had before, because that is what we need. That is where we're hurting right now, especially in this climate that we're in with Black Lives.
Promise.
Right. Exactly. Because what's happening in the political world right now is a breakdown in relationships. And that breakdown in relationships we're seeing play out in politics and on TV is happening in our homes. It's happening in our relationships. It's happening in our friendships. It's happening in our marriages. It's happening on different levels in different ways. And we need to learn the skill set, the awareness, and welcome and compassion in order to navigate this, so that on the other side of this, we can be better, we can be stronger, we can be more resilient when it comes to things like this.
I promise that was one of my next questions, was going to be like, well, how has this whole, COVID-19 and how has it impacted your business and your relationships and blah, 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 blah. I know, because I feel like some situations, not everyone's, but some situations where now the let's say it's a family unit. You got a mom, a dad, kids. Now y'all all forced to be under the same roof all at the same time, all the time. So if there was any lack, if there was any contention, if there was anything,
it exploded.
Yes.
Or for someone like me who lives by themselves and who's an introvert, that sense of loneliness and being alone was exaggerated as well.
See, now this may be my ignorance, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it anyway. I automatically think, like, since you're an introvert, like, you want to be alone.
Yeah, it was good the first month. I was Gucci the first month.
Yeah.
The second month, I'm like, oh Lord, I ain't hugged nobody the whole month. I ain't seen nobody. I'm literally in my house. Me and my dog, we have an intimate relationship now.
I understand. I do.
And so, and that's one thing people don't understand about introverts. We may enjoy being alone, but our basic human need is to be connected.
Still exists, right?
Right, it still exists, and we just need it on different levels and at different frequencies.
Okay.
And so, being alone for an extended period of time did have an effect on how I felt. I was getting headaches more often. I was more tired.
Wow. Physically.
It affects you physically. It starts here mentally, and I didn't realize how it was affecting me mentally until it started manifesting itself physically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then all of my fears and all of the other things that I had been dealing with on my own, because I did not have the interaction and the nurturing from other relationships I was used to, it began to exaggerate itself some. Wow. And so when I was able to realize that, then I was able to start taking steps and reaching out more and connecting in different ways, because I'm not a huge fan of being on Zoom all the time, because during the week I am on Zoom all the time.
Work, right. Yeah.
But I realized I had to connect in whatever way I could in order to keep my mental sanity, my emotional sanity, and my physical connectedness. And realizing this is just temporary. It's just temporary. It's just one moment in time. It is temporary. And that's one thing that I tell people is that no matter what happens in the world, I still believe that God is in charge, and I believe that God is still working things out for our greater good, whether we see it in this moment or not. That's why I believe that this is temporary, because the way God designed us, He is not going to let us be without people, without the connection for too long. But this was the reset that we needed in our world and our society to get our attention.
That's a good word.
Yeah.
Because I honestly feel like, even though this might be seen in such a negative light, He's given us, like, what was that, Miss Maxine, Auntie Maxine, reclaiming my time. He's given us a chance to reclaim our time, for lack of a better terminology, because now you do have the time where once upon a time, a couple of months ago, you were so busy running back and forth to whatever practice or whatever things that pulled you away from the family unit, or for someone who's not in a marriage or whatever, you had so many things vying for your attention outside. But now you're home, you're with the people, or you're with yourself. So it's like you have nothing but time now.
Yeah.
He has stripped away excuses.
Yep.
And he's giving you ample time to get it together.
Yeah.
I will say that for me, it's done. I don't want to say the opposite, because I am an extrovert. I like to be out there with people. Like I'm a hugger. Like I will I don't know a stranger. Like I will talk to anyone about anything. So, but now that I'm home all day by myself, with me and Gamora, that's my best friend right now. My dog Gamora, we be hanging out. Like I can understand her eye movements.
Right.
Like,
exactly. The thought bubbles that come across your head. Like, I know what you're thinking already. He's sick of me.
Right. So now I'm like, once where I used to, like, sometimes I just need to get out the house, I would just go. But now I'm like, you know what? I don't mind being at home and being alone. It's not so bad.
Girl, so the two words that come to mind is recalibration and change. Because
it's all right. Okay.
So because of what's happening in the world, we may have reset, but I want to recalibrate because we got out of alignment. So when we think about recalibration, we think about fine-tuning an instrument. We're going to fine-tune our alignment, get back on that, what is it? The center line, the natural zero, your true north. You're finding your true north again, which means that you are learning or relearning what your values are, relearning what's important to you, relearning how to be the best version of yourself. We are recalibrating, because who we were before 2020 is not who we're going to be in 2021.
We can't. We can't.
Right. So this is a time of recalibrating who we are, recalibrating our thoughts, recalibrating how we problem solve, recalibrating our relationships, recalibrating how we show up in this world. If we don't take the time to recalibrate, because sometimes the term reset means going back to factory settings. And we cannot go back to factory settings. We need to recalibrate and find our true north in today's climate, find our true north based on who we are and where we are going for the next time. So recalibrate. And then we are learning that change is necessary. Necessary. Because, the reason that reset is so attractive to us, we want to go back to what normal used to be. But our normal is no longer normal.
It has left the building.
Exactly. So we're used to this rapid sense of change now, because it almost feels like as if we have gotten stagnated. We've been eating stale bread and breathing stale air. And so now we have to change. We have to get things moving. Movement creates energy. Movement creates life. Movement is what gets us from point A to point B. So we had to let go of what was, getting to action. And that action was not physical action, because we had to come home for a period of time.
Yes, ma'am.
But it was that mental action, that emotional action, that spiritual action. We had to stir things up within those realms so that when we come out of this season, we're ready to get into physical action. So we are learning that change is okay, and that we can adapt to change no matter how uncomfortable it is. And that is yes.
I am all for, and I sound like a sadist, but I'm not like, I'm all for people getting uncomfortable. But like, for real, like, that's how it does change. Like, surgery, it hurts, but you come out on the other side better.
Yeah.
There's a healing process that hurts. But guess what? You come out on the other side better. So change is necessary. And you're going to have to get used to being uncomfortable. You're going to have to get used to stepping outside of your comfort zone. You're going to have to get used to doing things that shake up stuff.
Yes.
Because otherwise, like you said, you remain stagnant. You grow complacent. You grow comfortable. And that's, to me, that's more scary. That's scarier than what's on the other side of change.
So when you said shake things up, you reminded me of the story in the Bible when Paul was in jail, right? And God sent an earthquake to free him. But what happens is that while God is trying to free us through shaking things up, we hide under the table. We hold on to what's familiar and miss the fact that God has opened the doors.
He didn't open the door.
He done opened the doors. He done scared your captors off. But you're still holding on to what was familiar.
Listen.
Because you don't want to move. I'm going to need y'all to move.
Did someone catch it?
I'm going to need you to move.
Catch it.
Right. We're so afraid of change.
The door is open. It's open.
You got to hold your head up and look through things with your spiritual eyes and your physical eyes and see what God is trying to move you from point A to point B, or see where God is trying to free you from something that's been holding you back. Because if you're still in the same place this time next year, you missed your opportunity.
Don't miss it.
Yeah.
Don't miss it.
Because you don't want to go through an earthquake twice, y'all. I'm telling y'all.
Listen.
I'm telling y'all. I've been through a couple of hurricanes. That first hurricane, I was like, look, I ain't trying to do that again.
Listen, I'm not trying to relive this experience. And that's why I say all the time, when I find myself in the valley, which I have been lately, that's another story for another time. But when I find myself in these low points, I don't shut my eyes and try to wait until everything is over. No, I'm open my eye. I'm like, I want to see everything. And I want to take note on how I got here, and take note on what happened while I was here, and take note on how I got out. So that way, next time, traversing this climate, traversing this area, it won't be so bad. I learned some things.
Yeah. And, in that level of awareness takes a certain level of emotional maturity. And this is something that we have to be intentional about developing. And when I say emotional maturity, our natural reaction when things happen is that our emotions begin to take over. That emotion of fear, that emotion of fight or flight, it begins to take over. But when you understand that everything is happening just the way it should, you're able to calm your fears and calm your emotions down, not ignore them, not stuff them away, but to recognize what you're feeling and understand that your feelings and emotions is just information. is just information. And you use that information that you're feeling, and then you open your eyes to gather the information that you can physically see. You open your spiritual eyes, you can see the things that you need to see in the spirit and pull all that information together to make your next move.
Yes.
That takes maturity and intentions. Oh, I love the comments here. Thanks, Tamara. Yeah, you got to look around and take notes. Yeah. You got to look around and take notes. And that takes intention and awareness.
Yes. I mean, I think if you've been through more than, we'll use the word earthquake. Yeah. If you've been through more than one, you're like, you know what? I'm starting to notice better. Let me try things differently.
Right.
So I want to jump into, because one of the things we had a conversation about, a sneak peek was about like how relationships affect success, or was it vice versa? How success affects. Anyway.
Yeah. Yes. So your relationships affect success because relationships is the foundation of life. You cannot move forward in business. You cannot move forward in your career. You cannot move forward in your relation, like your romantic relationship, without understanding the foundations of success. When we think about it, when we are building up our career, you go in as one thing. You might go in as a level 1 person, right? And if you don't,
level 1?
Let's say beginner, you know, a novice or something like that. I'll use my career, for example. I went in as a beginner engineer, right? And during those first few years, I'm in training. But the training is not just about your technical capabilities. It's about how well you work with other people.
Right.
And the further you go up the corporate ladder, or the further you go in developing your business, you are in the business of people. People buy your products, right? Yep. People use your services, right? Unless you're a robot with no soul or no spirit, you have to nurture relationships. The most successful people that I know, they know how to relate to people on different levels. The most successful people I know how to build relationships with people so that your name is spoken in rooms that you have never set foot into. That's what we mean about relationships and success. Yeah. And it's not about brown nosing or anything. It's about genuinely connecting with people, understanding who they are, what their needs are, and then being a resource, being a solution for them. And, you know, when we talk about mentorships and what's the other word, or coaching relationships, we often think about what I can get from that person. But successful mentorships is about an exchange. You hear me say this all the time. It's not just what that person can do for you, but how can you help that person, even though they're a couple of levels above you, how can you help them do things that they need to do as well? So it is really about building that relationship and building an awareness that unless you have the skill set and the heart to build relationships, you're never going to truly be successful.
That's kind of scary. So what about, like, since, you know, I'm sure you deal with all kinds of relationship scenarios. So what if, like, you are dealing with someone, say, do you deal with just women or men?
Most of my professional career, I'm dealing with men. Okay. And my coaching career is mostly women.
Okay. So say you have a woman that comes to you, her coach, and she is on the rise. She started off as a level 1 and now she's like a level 4 or whatever. Yeah. And she is in a relationship and she is trying to navigate. I'm trying to figure out the best way to answer this question, because there's no way that you can control someone else. There's no way that you can force, you know, someone else's will.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I see where you're going. It's funny because one of the things I want to talk about in my Facebook Lives next week.
Sorry.
is the challenges that type A women, the challenges that ambitious type women have when it comes to creating nurturing relationships. The challenge with that is a lot of us, myself included, we like to move in our relationships the same way we move in our careers. And especially with us who work in male-dominated fields, we tend to show up more masculine in our careers and then bring home that same masculine energy.
Wow.
You know, and the way I like to demonstrate this is watch how women move our bodies.
Okay.
When you're in a room with other men, we tend to sit straight up, chest out, you know, head up, because most masculine energy is here in the chest.
Okay.
When we think about men, what are we attracted to? The arms, the chest, the ass.
Okay.
But then where is most women's feminine energy? It's in our hips. It's in the way we walk. It's in the way we glide. It's in the way we just kind of move.
I'm learning. Y'all see me radio, y'all can't see me. But if you was watching me on YouTube, you see me taking notes. My fingers is moving furiously. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so that's why as little girls, we're actually, I was chastised a little bit about switching too much because we were too fast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But y'all can't see me, but my parents, my mama's side of the family, they blessed us all with hips. Okay? With hips. Mm-hmm. I don't care what I wear, you're going to see these hips move. But as we grow up and we try to make our mark in the world, we learn and we are taught to downplay our feminine energy, the things that make us uniquely women in order to fit into a man's world.
Wow.
And some of that rolls into our relationships. We wonder why we are attracting certain type of men. We wonder why there's so much conflict in relationships. And I'll use my life, for example. There was a time where I kept wondering, why was I attracting the type of men that I would call, or most of society would call, weak? Meaning that I had to lead, I had to make decisions. I was always the one in the forefront, guiding and directing the direction of the relationship. And I felt like I had to be the leader at home as much as I was the leader at my job. But guess what? When I met men, I led with that feminine, that masculine energy. And so when I'm leading with masculine energy, because we all have both masculine and feminine energy within us, right? And so when I show up more masculine.
Is it the same for men? I'm sorry to cut off the thought. Okay.
Right. And that's where I was about to go. Men's masculine energy begins to diminish and their feminine energy show up. So, but if that man's masculine energy rises at the same time your masculine energy rises, conflict. But then if I rest and I lean into my feminine energy and allow his masculine energy to show up, then it becomes a little bit more harmonious.
How do you do that? I'm asking for a friend.
The way you do that is to relax.
Hold on one second. She said the way to do that is to relax.
Yeah.
But we're going to take a small commercial break and then we're going to come right back in we're going to let her, describe what the rest is mean. I hope y'all got y'all notes. I got my pen and paper. And if you don't use this commercial break to go get you some, we are not so different. We'll be right back. YouTube, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We had to take a small commercial break for the radio show, but we still want to keep it live. Y'all stay with us.
Did you want to drink some water?
Yeah.
You coughed a few times.
Yeah,
that was the only reason.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm so sorry.
Our producer. Yeah. She is so considerate.
I am so sorry. I forgot to be sitting right here.
So Nicholas and tomorrow, and y'all, thank y'all for showing up. We really appreciate y'all. We just wanted to give her a quick break. And thank my producer for being considerate, because I'm like, no, cloud roll.
That's why I brought my water today. I know last time I was going.
I'm sorry.
All right, y'all.
All right, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Nicholas. All right.
Thank you so much for sticking with us here at We Are Not So Different. So today's guest, once again, is Sherica Matthews, and she was right in the middle of answering a question. We were talking about feminine and masculine energy. Go ahead with the response, because I got my notes. I'm ready.
So one of the ways that we as women can hone into our feminine energy is, number one, relax. Relax your shoulders, right? I know it seems so simple, but
because if someone tells me to relax, I'm going to go off.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Exactly. Relax, breathe, take a deep breath, and let it go. Let it go. And realize that you do not have to control everybody and everything.
Father God.
And when I say this, I'm talking to Sherica too, y'all.
Listen, because she's tap dancing on my toes. Y'all can't see it, but she's on my toes.
But you have to relax. And one of the exercises that I like to do is think about God. when I say think about God, there's God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. And years ago, someone created an analogy that God the Father is like the masculine, God Jesus is the child that leaves the Holy Spirit as the woman. And when you think about how the Holy Spirit moves throughout the Bible,
the comforter,
yeah. She flows, she's within us. There's a certain level of calm inside of her power. And so one of the things that I encourage all women to do is to relax and be calm and visualize yourself moving with a sense of grace and in a sense of ease like the Holy Spirit. Because there is power in that grace and in that ease.
Grace and ease. I'm writing it down. I don't think I'm not paying attention. I'm listening, girl.
And then the way that you really connect with the Holy Spirit is meditation. It's really tuning your ear, tuning your thoughts into your intuition. Because we have been, and it goes back to our point earlier, we have been so busy doing, we stop being.
Oh, I feel like that could go on a t-shirt, girl. Put on a t-shirt.
We have to get used to being spirit, being a person, being a woman, and understand what does that look like for you. If you stop doing everything for everybody, if you stop showing up and trying to solve everybody's problems, because
that's what we do.
And that's especially hard for Sherica, because Sherica is a coach. Sherica is an engineer. My whole job description is to solve problems, right?
Yeah.
But in order for me to thrive in my relationships, I have to learn how to be.
I love that. I feel like, I don't know if you already have a class for that, but you need to make a class to show people, well, women.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I shouldn't discriminate me and.
No, this is going to be for women.
Okay, God bless. So for women, remind us and show us and guide us how to stop with the busy work. Like you said, we're so busy doing and we're not practicing the being part. That's for me too.
Yeah. Now. And let me tell you the biggest pushback I get with that, especially with women who are in relationships, is that, well, if I don't tell my husband how to do this, if I don't show my man how to do X, Y, and Z, it's not going to get done. But let it not get done then. We have to stop putting ourselves in positions to fill the role that's not being filled by the men. And that's such a hard pill to swallow, because we want to help everyone. We want everybody to be whole. But in the realm of relationships, we have to allow men the space, the time, and the opportunity to fill the role that they need to fill as men.
That they were created to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And they may move slower than you. It's okay. They may not get it as fast as you, but we have to lean back in order to allow him to lean in. Because notice how I'm physically moving. And I know if you're on the radio, you can't really see it, but we tend to lean so far into the relationship that it forces the man to lean back. But we have to learn to lean back into ourselves and recenter, realign, and reconnect with who we are, to allow him to lean back into the relationship in his full masculinity, to allow him to show up. And guess what? If he doesn't lean forward, if he continues to lean back to allow you to lean into and allow you to fill the role and the shoes that he should be filled in the relationship, that's a signal, that's a sign that something is wrong. Don't ignore that. That's something I did way too often in my
Don't ignore the red flags, y'all.
Don't ignore it.
I want to tell them to say it again for the people in the back, but that's what we do, though.
That's what we do.
I can fix him.
And we don't, and think about it, we don't always use those words, I can fix him. Because the words that I used was, I can help him.
Yes, ma'am.
I can help him. I took the term being a helpmate out of context. I took it way out of context. I would connect with a man who I felt needed me, because that's where I place my value as a woman, is being a helper. So I would connect with men who needed me, and then I would then create a relationship where he always needed me, and then got mad
because he needed you. Like, why I always gotta? Yeah. Wow. It's true. It's true.
That's what we do. And so I want to encourage women to to lean back into yourselves again. Lean back into who you are as the woman, and lean back into your spirit.
Man, lean back.
Lean back. Is that a song?
It is. I have been, ever since you said this first, I said, we're not going to do it. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. So I'm loving how you're making such a complex topic sound so basic and simple.
Right. Because we the one who make it complicated.
Yeah.
We make it complicated.
Guilty. I'm guilty. But I don't think that we take enough time to actually think about just how big of a role relationships play in our very existence.
Yes.
So yes, this is helping me, and I hope it's helping somebody out there. My toe is gonna be sore.
I'm sorry. I apologize in advance, y'all. This is what I do. Y'all gotta be some steel-toed boots when y'all come around me and her. Okay?
Oh God, help us, Lord. So I know we've covered like how relationships, they can affect your quality of life, because you just mentioned like you were thinking that it was a mental thing, but then it started to manifest actually physically, causing your body like pain or suffering.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. That happens. That's why we are stressed all the time. You know, I just had the realization yesterday, as a matter of fact, that one of my friendships had become toxic. And I was wondering, like, why was I feeling stressed? Because I'm like, nothing else in my life felt stressful. My job wasn't stressful. Nothing I was doing, my business felt stressful. And it came to realizations because a relationship of mine that I hold very dear had become toxic. And so now I have to start redefining my boundaries, because who I was at the beginning of our friendship is not who I am now.
Relationships have to evolve as we do.
Evolve, and we have to what? Recalibrate.
Recalibrate.
That's my word for 2020. Recalibrate.
Recalibrate. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I had that experience a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I'd known the person since I was in 5th grade, and looked up and was like, how did I get here? How did we get here?
And I have so many comments and questions right now. but it goes back, and I was going to post this on Facebook. I think I did post this on Facebook. Sometimes we define successful relationships by longevity.
I found out the hard way that is not the plumb line.
Yes.
That is not the standard.
Yeah, we really need to reevaluate what it means to have successful friendships, successful business relationships, and successful romantic relationships. Because one of the things that I am starting to realize, especially in the realm of romantic relationships, that just because the relationship has lasted for 10, 20, 40 years doesn't mean that it was successful.
Look, one of the hardest things, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I had to drop this nugget on y'all real quick, because I remember when I was a teenager and it was my first love. Well, you couldn't tell me nothing about this man. Did you hear me? But then we broke up, and I was going through, and I remember my mama saying, baby, just because you love someone don't mean y'all supposed to be together. And it took me years to understand just what the heck. I was like, she's speaking gibberish. What is this tomfoolery?
Right.
But man,
right.
Just because you love somebody don't mean you're supposed to be together.
Right. And just because the relationship only lasted 5 years doesn't mean it was a failure.
I'm going to need you to expound. I mean, I get it, but I'm going to need you to give it to the people. Because I'm sorry, I'm not going to, go ahead.
You remember the old saying, everyone comes to your life for a season or for a reason or for a lifetime. The short-term relationships I've had, at the moment that it ended, it felt like a failure in that moment, because I was being led by my emotions. But that person, that relationship propelled me to where I am now and to who I am.
Taught you so much.
Because I tell God all the time, do I really have to go through that? Because I have read that in the book. He said, I gave you a book. You ain't read it, so I had to let you live it.
Sorry, Jesus. You ain't got to do me like that. And you know, that's another thing. I love that you said, just because you were with someone for a certain amount of time and it ended does not mean it's a failure, because you can learn from anything. Something else that I struggle with, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, once you realize these things, once you see these red flags, once you see who's at this said, when someone tells you who they are, believe them.
Absolutely.
Was that Maya Angelou? Listen, once you see it, there has to be a point where you are capable of severing some relationships.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
Yeah, nothing. It's called healthy boundaries. And we are afraid of cutting things. I don't know why.
We like hoarders in relationships.
I'm like, do you know when you came out your mama's womb, you had to cut that cord?
Wowza. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know why we afraid of cutting the cord. I still ain't figured that out.
When I figure it out, I'm gonna put it in the bottle and I'm gonna sell it. Because, like you said, not saying that you're going to cut off that relationship that is now turned toxic if you determine to reevaluate and then recalibrate.
Exactly.
But some stuff don't need to be recalibrated.
Exactly.
The recalibration is the cutting.
Yeah.
The severing of said tie.
You know, and this reminds me of the Facebook Live I did earlier this week about men who look good and, you know, meet all your physical desires, but they waste your time. And one of the things that we do that keeps us connected to these people and these relationships is that we make up a storyline, an excuse, and we don't talk about it. So think about it. We make up a storyline, an excuse, meaning that when we see people's bad behaviors, we justify it. Well, he's like that because he didn't get the love he needed as a child. Baby, he's 35 years old. I'm just saying. Or one of the things I was very guilty of is that I wasn't talking to my friends about it. And a lot of us have this belief and well-meaning advice that we follow is that you don't have to tell everybody everything that happens in your relationship. But if you are intentionally holding back information from your very best friend, where she don't know that your man's hit you, where she don't know that he takes all your money, where she don't know that he doesn't contribute anything to your life or your well-being, that is a red flag. When you become silent, you lost your voice, you lost your way, and you're losing your power. Those are the key flags when you start making up excuses and you start hiding.
Wow.
That means that one relationship is causing you to disconnect from your other relationships, including the relationship with yourself. Because now you're giving yourself deception. You're telling yourself a storyline to make you feel better about staying in a relationship where your gut, your intuition, your spirit is telling you don't need to be there.
He gave us tuition for a reason, y'all.
Yeah.
Use it.
Yeah.
So I know you touched on a few things. I've been stalking your Facebook page. I'm not gonna lie. And listening to the conversation that you're having, and some of the stuff is really giving me life. I think I got about 4 of them, but we ain't got enough time to get to all 4. So I'm gonna go into the one I think that was the best for me. You were saying, faced with a really big life decision and fear of making the wrong decision, you've developed a master class called Leave Fear Behind. And you said it's to help women get unstuck and overcome fears to position themselves to receive new opportunities. And then you spoke of an incident that happened to you. I was like, this needs more exposure, more talking about, more developing.
Yeah.
So in the last 10 minutes, I know because the time is really
I know it always does this.
It does. But in the last 10 minutes, please give me life, give my listeners life, because who has not encountered fear? And fear it can be an ugly thing.
Yeah.
It can be crippling.
Yes.
It can be maiming.
Yes.
Like, so if she's developed an entire master class on how to leave fear behind, if you ain't got your pen and paper by now, go get your pen and paper.
Yeah. Let me start off by let's defining what fear is. Okay. Fear is a distressing emotion caused by pending harm or danger, whether that threat is real or imaginary.
Imaginary. I'm sorry.
If you ain't wrote this down, I need y'all to write it down. Okay? This definition changed my life and how I view fear. Fear is a distressing emotion. It means it's a feeling. It's not even tangible, y'all.
Not tangible, because sometimes it ain't real. I'm sorry.
Right. It's distressing emotion caused by impending fear or danger, whether that threat is real or imagined. So there are some things that we feel as fear that could be real or it could be imagined. That's where we get our wires crossed. Because half of the storylines we tell ourselves that create the fear is about something we imagine.
Imagined.
I mean, I have seen women come into my coaching session about how bad their relationships are. And I'm like, okay, what's the evidence? And it's all something they imagine, they think that their spouse or their boyfriend or their significant other is going to do. I'm like, so the character traits of that person, have they done it before? And usually the answer is no. They're just so sure that they're going to do this thing they're afraid of, that they're willing to throw away their relationship. They're willing to sacrifice their relationship because of this fear. They're willing to sacrifice their life because they are afraid that they're going to make the wrong decision about something that hasn't even happened yet. They're basing their fears on an imagination, and they're basing their decision that's based on a fear that's based on imagination.
Goodness gracious, that was a lot. Say it again. Basing their decisions on a fear that is based in imagination.
Yes.
Father, help us.
Help us. And that's exactly what I want to help women do, is help them decipher real from imaginary. Help them understand the different types of fear, because there are different types of fear out there. And once you understand how that fear is driving your behavior, that's when you can reclaim your power. Because here's the thing. You know this term called fearlessness, right? It doesn't mean there's going to be an absence of fear.
I wish.
There's
in the real world.
Right. There's going to be less of it. That their fear is going to have less power. And this is something I want you to write down too, is that just because fear is present,
I might have wrong. No, go ahead.
Just because fear is present doesn't mean you give it power.
Okay.
Think about how we typically react with fear. Fear is present. Oh my God, what am I going to do? You began to go on this train ride that this fear wants to take you on, and fear is driving the train. Instead, fear can be present, but it's not in the caboose. It's not in the driver's seat. That means that I recognize the fear. I want to understand this fear, but I am still driving my decisions from a place of logic, from a place of information, from a place of spirit.
Okay. All right.
And we want to make sure to include spirit, God, in that.
Yes.
Because just because you have the information can still give you misinformation. And I haven't shared this in public yet, but I shared it in my Facebook group. There is a statue, the Lincoln statue of emancipation. And I saw this on the Instagram page where at a certain angle, it looked like Abraham Lincoln was petting an African slave. But as soon as you change positions, same statue, same day, you realize that he was not petting that African man as like a dog. He was actually pointing at something over here. But
Perception
and positioning. Same statue, same day, but different positioning and perception. So you want to make sure that you have information, but you're using your spirit to discern that information and then make your decision. And that's just a taste of what we're going to do next week, y'all, in my masterclass.
Goodness gracious. I really hope, man, I wish I could put this on repeat, like, because I have to admit that certain parts of this conversation even made me uncomfortable. But it's only because I saw myself in some of the things that you were describing. And if y'all being real with y'all self, I'm sure there are some things that you saw in yourself that she was describing. And it's going to cause me to reevaluate some life decisions. Which I think is good.
Yeah,
we're going to be recalibrating. That's the word of the day.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh man. And like I said, there was like, so let me just give y'all a sneak peek. I mean, y'all can find this lady, and I'm gonna let her tell you where you can find her. But some of the other topics that I was stalking, one of the titles was "You Can Be Happy and Unfulfilled."
Yes.
And she said, yes, you read it right. You can be happy and unfulfilled. You can have a title, but it doesn't mean anything if you don't have a successful relationship. One of the other ones was "Lack of confidence is not the problem." I'm like, man, she busted heads on Facebook. I don't know if y'all paid attention. And then the other one that she talked on just a little bit was called the 5 Signs of Self-Deception.
Yeah.
So she's doing these things on Facebook, but I'm gonna give her this opportunity to plug herself and tell everyone listening and or watching listening or watching where they can find you and if they want to obtain your services, because she obviously got the goods and she got the receipts to prove it. The success receipt.
Yes, success receipts, honey. You guys got to tune into my last one, April 15th, because that was a good one too.
It really was. It spawned what you see today and what you have experienced today, which I'm sure we're probably gonna have to do again because, like I said, when you get to everything on the list, that seems to happen. But that's because there's so much. The stuff that you are speaking about, this is your life, this is your business, this is what you do. It's hard and heavy hitting, and it's a necessity. This is life.
Yeah.
And you can do it better.
Yeah.
With a coach.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Tell the people where they can find you.
Yes, you guys can find me. I'm most active on Facebook and Instagram under Sherica A. Matthews. A stands for Ann, y'all. I am from the South.
Sherica Ann. Okay.
My sister's Deborah Ann.
My mama's name was Deborah Ann.
My mama's Shirley Ann.
It's a whole bunch of Anns. Okay.
So I'm a little country. That's
all right. All right.
So you can find me on Facebook under Sherica A. Matthews or Instagram under Sherica Matthews. And also, if you're interested in my masterclass, Leave Fear Behind, go to bit.ly/leave fear behind. And I actually want to give away a seat in my masterclass for next week. I forgot to tell you that earlier.
Yes, you did. I was like, this is news to me. Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
We all surprised.
Right. She wants to give away a seat to the masterclass.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So we got to figure out how we're going to number again or something.
Okay. So pick a number.
I'm going to go with 7.
Okay. So we're going to do this like we did during the other giveaway.
Yeah.
The number 7 person. Do you want to pick the phrase too?
Oh.
I'm gonna let you. Okay, so I'm gonna give y'all directions while she's picking out the phrase. The number 7 person to go to my website, which is www.wearenotsodifferent. Go to the contact us section and leave the phrase that pays, which is
recalibration.
Recalibration.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. So number 7, go to my website, www.wearenotsodifferent.com. Go to the contact section, leave the word recalibration, and you're going to win a free spot in that masterclass. How to leave fear behind, baby.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I wish I could go and do number 7. I would type it for myself. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Sherica. As usual, you are a sheer delight and a wealth of knowledge and information. And I appreciate you tremendously for spending your time with We Are Not So Different this morning. So this is the end of our time. Producer's giving me the side eye, so we're gonna keep it moving. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, ESM Radio. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, everybody. Until next time, We Are Not So Different, y'all.
Bye.
I was doing no such thing.
She really wasn't. I just said it for effect. Love you guys. Next time. I had to go to her.